Spoon!
Spoon!
Fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And Jacob Wile, too.
And welcome to the Kickback Cafe, the show where we kick back, relax, and talk about anything but Disney. And tonight, we'll be talking about kind of a semi-delayed reaction and retrospective and recap of The Tick Season 1, Part 2. Oh my god.
Spoon.
So, Jacob, this is your first time on the podcast since I believe a couple debates ago. So how you been doing, bud?
Well, I mean, the last time I haven't been able to do like some of my Imagineering stuff because I had the flu and apparently I fell out of that. But I just mainly been
It's
doing
not that
my
you
own.
fell out of it. It's just you stopped returning my calls on it. So I was like, well, okay.
I
I understand, though. The flu happens. You know, it sucks, but it happens.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
No,
But
it's all good.
everything's fine now, and I should be able to return doing more things here.
Right on. Right on. Okay, and Dragon, we just talked to you yesterday. How you been?
Okay.
Business as usual. All right, great.
Dragon is as dragon does.
Yep.
I am the wild blue yonder. Okay.
So, guys, I'm going to start things off with a strong thesis statement about how I feel about The Tick, all right? After much consideration and a couple rewatches, I think that The Tick Season 1 is my favorite season of anything streaming ever. Like on
Really?
the Netflix, Hulu, Amazon front.
Ever.
Ever.
Wow.
Wow.
I think this is the most flawless season. I think this rises above the Avengers seasons, or the Defender seasons, I should say, like the Marvel Netflix stuff. I mean, I think this is perfect. This is 100% like they nailed it. Like they absolutely nailed it in every regard. I love this show. Like this is one of my new favorite shows now. I can't wait for a season 2. I'm really just enamored with it. Just the pacing, the writing, the fact that they have like this dark sensibility running throughout the show, but it never makes the show cynical. It just kind of gives the show an edge. The action is really on point. The acting is just super memorable and lovable. The writing, it's got some of the best quotes I've ever heard. I mean, this is superior storytelling to me. I mean, I'm in love with this thing. Like I watched, I got to admit, I wasn't, I was a little bit nervous about like, okay, I got to rewatch like all of the second half of season one for this podcast tonight. But as soon as I started watching when I woke up this morning, it was like it went by like that. It was like it wasn't even like, oh my god, this is like it's so infinitely watchable. It's got such a big heart to it. Guys, I'm glowing about this thing. It's probably my second favorite show right now after Better Call Saul.
Interesting.
All right.
Okay, what do you guys think?
Well, I think I liked it more. I think just looking at the second half here, I was seeing how. Before I get to overall, I think the second half I like more than the first half. I mean, they both are great. I felt they both have a similar issue though, and it's not like an issue that by any means really takes anything away from. It's just like something to notice. Like it's like kind of like walking before you run for like. Basically, it's stuff like the first season's always they're testing some stuff out, and I think they'll easily improve on this in the second season. It's like a very small thing. It's just I think in both halves there is
standard superhero origin story stuff. like it's always it's always like struggling to get out of the origin story, and then once that kicks out, it goes full shebang.
Well, essentially, I would kind of. He's not wrong. I would essentially kind of call it a stall. I think there's a stall in both halves, and primarily in the first half, it's what Jacob's talking about. I think primarily you do have a lot of. Basically, I think the visual way of putting it is Arthur isn't exactly in this. We do like this hot potato with the suit in the first half, which again, it doesn't hurt the story. It's just like we have to kind of get to that point so we can get to all the cool stuff in the second half, and. And again, maybe if you watch it completely in sequence, if we had both sides of it all at once, like we usually have on a Netflix type show, maybe that problem is a little less. But again, so that's a small little note
Dragon,
there.
I completely agree with you that season 1 is weaker than the second half of season 1, but I don't know. I'm so in love with the second half of season 1 that it just completely elevates everything. And maybe it's like a recency bias thing, but that second half of season 1 just goes by so quick. It's like an extended movie for me. It's just it's rewatchable.
Don't get me wrong, but when the second season, well, yeah, sorry, I keep saying season.
I know, I keep doing it too. Don't worry about it.
I know it's so bizarre. I hate doing and Netflix has kind of started doing it too, but I think Amazon did it first. We do like this, we're dropping part 1, then we do part 2. Why can't we just have it all at once? I don't get it. But
or at least break it up into seasons.
Yeah, at least call it a season or something. Don't give me part because again, I feel,
it's like several times on Netflix, it's been something that's very clearly one season. They split it in 2 and call it 2 seasons themselves. It's no, we know better than that. Netflix, stop deceiving us.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, when the second part dropped, I did rewatch the first half, and basically what I was getting with the first half, I love episode 6 of the first. There are other the beginning's good, but honestly, if I'm being really honest, I would really skip to all the Tick and Arthur scenes in the first half because that's where all my interest lies. And the other stuff's good; it's nothing's wrong with it. But it feels like okay, we're kind of lining things up for the really big second half, and the ending is where we're starting that story, where the whole I'm the Tick and I've got a bus to catch. That whole awesome sequence. I mean, that's great. And honestly, it's again the benefit of part 2 is we're doing all that stuff basically for the full half. It's kind of like the Stranger Things analogy, where the end of basically I love the end of Stranger Things season 1. Season 2 is a lot of that minus 1 episode. And yeah, and I think the only story. Yeah,
and also they kind of dropped the psychological plot point immediately.
Exactly. I think we'll save it for later on. I think season 2 is going to get into more of that. But anyway, the last thing is briefly. So again, second half. The only stall I feel in the second half is there's kind of an episode that does the most of this, but again, it doesn't kill the episode or anything like a Stranger Things example. It's the VLM plot line. I love how we set up and I love how we bring it back and all that. I just think we kind of towards the end, we're kind of taking time to do the exposition on the VLM plot, and it's kind of the only stall that feels kind of like the origin stuff in the first half and the second half. Okay, we're just kind of waiting to get to the climax for an episode, but hey, we're there. And again, it's not a long way. It's just okay, let's fast track this, guys.
Mm-hmm. Jacob?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't call it one of my favorite things ever. One of my favorite seasons in streaming ever. I mean, then again, I probably haven't watched as much as you guys, so... I mean, I actually recently got Hulu, so I'm going to get into that. but I would definitely say, I mean, that doesn't mean I'm not impressed with this show at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely impressed by how well the show is able to... It's 12 episodes that it flies by in a breeze, and and it doesn't even feel... It almost doesn't feel like it at all. I mean... That's a sign of good. That's a sign of a good show. It's where it's investing in, and all that. I mean, I said I will agree with both with Tiki that there's some good points, and I agree with Dragon as some things do lag a bit. Like I said, the whole origin story thing, and there are several parts in here that just felt like exposition because they just felt like it wasn't just because it needed to be that way, but. I will just say that I'm extremely impressed by this show and how it translates to the modern age because this is based on a pretty old source and how they've translated to the modern ages very well, and even added some new twists and even interesting characters as well. I can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
Also, I just need to address up front. I forgot to mention this in my opening statement. I watched part 2 literally right before leaving for Disney World. So literally this is going to be attached to that Disney World memory for as long as I live. And there's a little bit of a personal bias there. Just a little bit.
I just watched this a few days ago.
Just some glowing memories attached to it. Just some glowing good times. On the verge of a big adventure. We're going to see this small screen adventure with the Tick. Anyways. All right, Dragon, would you like to set us off with a recap, kind of getting us into place?
All right, sure. Here's the plot for the part 2 of it all. So, Tick, Dot, and Overkill rescue Arthur from the terror. They find Dr. Karamazov, the man who built Arthur's suit, and they uncover a plan to use a big bismuth infused within the VLM, the very large man, very handy abbreviation, to kill Superior. And they discover the big old plan, the big old ridiculous plan the terrorists cooked up, and it's up to Tick and Arthur to save Superior and foil the terror, encountering robots, talking dogs, and ominous Aegis setup for season 2 along the way.
Okay, with that in mind, we'll just basically, folks, this is going to be a little bit more of a streamlined conversation than what we had for part 1, because part 1 we went through all the characters and everything. So we set up all the characters. We all know who the characters are. So this is going to be a streamlined conversation about the episodes themselves. So let's get started with episode 7. Episode 7 is
Tales from the Crypt.
I believe it's just Tale from the Crypt.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Yes, it's just a single tale.
Oh yeah, so we have with all of these episodes, I believe all of them, if not most episodes, we have like a Tick opening speech. And I always love how we have these great kind of, Peter Serafinowicz, he's excellent as the Tick. That kind of goes without saying. We kind of spend time with him. We get a lot more Tick in the second half, and oh boy, is it.
Well, you know what I like about those opening speeches is that it's a great way to kind of give a theme to the episode and separate the episodes out. And that's one of the things I'm talking about why this is one of my favorite streaming series ever, is because so many streaming series just rely on like the binge quality of it, just all right, let's do one more episode, just have something big at the end to push you along. But with the Tick, I feel like those opening monologues really set the stage and really make each episode stand out in its own unique way. And that's exactly what I'm kind of looking for with a TV show, is I'm looking for something that's both going to give me an invested overall story, but more importantly, I want each episode to be its own mini movie. Dragon, like we love the mini movie quality of something like Breaking Bad or Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah. Sure, and also that kind of feeds into that Ben Ed, like in the second half definitely feels more Ben Edlund-esque, kind of the great absurdity of the world, and kind of opening on kind of like a Spider-Man monologue, but it's the Tick, and it's completely absurd and ridiculous, and kind of vaguely ties into what the story's about. But again, it's looking at you're having so much fun while you're listening to that, you realize, oh yeah, it does kind of relate to what the episode's about.
in some kind of weird roundabout way that almost doesn't make sense.
So about all of these episodes, have an opening like that, and so it's always kind of diverse and fun. It's it's kind of like the Singing Gallivant openings,
Oh God, Gallivant! I love Gallivant so much.
Oh, yeah.
I miss Gallivant.
We should do a retrospective on Gallivant.
Oh, we never did pitch that season 3, those season 3 ideas. So
that's true. Oh,
all right, so I hit some of the highlights of this episode. I love how we open, kind of connecting to where we left off with the Tick kind of finding Arthur Glove. He's been crying Arthur randomly all over the place.
Arthur!
And goes like, he's not here. Get out of my store.
Oh, Goat. Another Goat character very similar to Megas XLR.
God.
So let's see. So it's Grand Arthur all over the place. Overkill and Dot. Now there's a pairing. That's a great pairing that we have this season.
I ship it.
I really like how they could have gone so cliche with Overkill and Dot, just done like the like Overkill is kind of like teaching Dot to be tough, but in reality it's more Dot that's kind of shaping Overkill into shape. She's just like, hey, look, you're kind of an idiot. You're way underestimating me, and you have serious psychological issues.
You need serious one-on-one therapy.
I love how the first time we see Overkill in the second half is like he's perched like it's like that scene from How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey, where he's like kind of perched in like the kind of the corner of the room, like in the ceiling, and then this Overkill is, and just he's caught, and he's still trying to keep his mystique. Just don't look at me. It's ridiculous. So they definitely band together to save the. We have like kind of a trio off to save Arthur, off to save kind of the money of the show, kind of save our protagonist.
But of course, I think Jackie Earl Haley is the MVP of this episode in particular. Oh
so
my!
The highlights of this entire show, I would say, are the Tick. Peter Serafinowicz is the Tick, and Jackie Earl Haley as the Terror. Like they always deliver whenever.
Dragon, if you remember, like I wasn't so big on the Terror for part 1 because we saw. Comparatively, like we got a fair bit of him in season 1, but it was always kind of like, all right, he's just this big bad guy who's sort of looming over everything. And in part 2, we really get into the comedy of the Terror. We really get into like the lunacy. Like this guy is absolutely off his rocker. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing or what the hell he's talking about.
The reinvention I love of this version of the Terror is I love the hobbyist quality. I still think that's hilarious. And we introduced that idea at the end when he came back and they said, like, oh yeah, I've been killing the bees. You know, he's doing all this like ridiculous petty stuff. We get to see more of that unfold here. And he mentions, you know, he's been taking up the drums, and I love how they work the drum.
Dragon, you need a hobby if you're going to be underground controlling the world. Isn't that right, colleague?
God.
And then it made me think of like what ridiculous hobbies the Hand would come up with in their free time.
Don't use Bakudo. Don't use Bakudo like that.
I'll use Bakudo however I damn well please, sir.
Just say we're trying to. You're undercutting the terror of it all.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And what about the drum instructor? He's like, and then he like tortures like, that's for not getting me to try harder.
Actually, the drum instructor does like drill into him quite a bit, like even more over the top than Whiplash with J.K. Simmons. He's just like,
oh god.
So yes, you know, you need his instructor Phil, the J.K. Simmons for hire.
Oh god,
essentially. Yeah, but I love that device, and one of my favorite sequences.
I would honestly love to see J.K. Simmons play a villain in this show.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Chairface.
Oh yeah, Chairface.
I'd sign on for it.
All right.
All right, here, my favorite sequence, I love how we use the drum device. I love that it kind of fits into kind of this jazz illusion. That basically his villain, he kind of wants to be the Charlie Parker of villains. You know, he wants to sound like Charlie Parker, and he wants to kind of be kind of into kind of the improvisational jazz of a plane. He's going to have the pieces there and kind of see how they unfold to kind of make something kind of really cool out of it. And my favorite sequence specifically is when he explains this to Miss Linton. We intercut and we do the thing from the Tick where the Tick had a very jazzy opening theme song, and it was scored to it. Like it was always kind of woven into the animated show.
Kind of reminded me of this sequence. Kind of reminded me of Birdman, the way that we use the percussion to kind of like underscore everything.
Well, yeah, sure, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised if they definitely pulled some reference from Birdman in that regard. But it's still, I love that we're using
Flash, two like very drum centric movies that came out kind of competing with each other that year.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I just like I love using that device. It's kind of surfacing some stuff we know about the Tick, and at the same time, it's it's very well intercut, and you get to see like, oh man, the Terror, while he is sounding like off his rocker, he is kind of making some sense here. But the pieces are kind of at play here. He does seem a little smart, and we're giving him credit for it. Well, by the end, we're going to realize he's still completely off his rocker.
Instead of being like the classical jazz composer, he ends up sounding more like Frank Zappa and off his meds.
Sure. And I think the funniest thing with the Terror too, I think one of the neatest ideas with the Terror, short of all the jazz hobbyist stuff, is I love how he's cultivating he just kind of fell into this, realizing in that great moment that's kind of in that great moment that's kind of before us here, where he's realizing, oh, you're one of mine, aren't you? Didn't I kill your dog or something? My father.
Oh yeah, right, father.
And I just love that he relishes the opportunity of like, hey, I cultivated a hero in my off time, and it's like,
get over here, you'll never guess who we got. Remember that Everest kid?
Yeah. Ice cream. That's the thing. It's so funny, and I love that it's like kind of a plot, and it does track that again. It's kind of playing on, if we see the Tick as kind of parodying kind of our streaming in our Netflix shows. It's very much kind of like how we have a hero villain parallel in like Daredevil and the Kingpin. In this case, it's like the hero and our protagonist and our antagonist, who definitely shaped each other's origins. You know, it's kind of going back and forth that way, and they're he's shaping Arthur's heroic journey, and like getting him to that moment where it's such a beautiful moment where he sees the suit and he's been basically baited into escaping, and he kind of has that moment of heroic pause where Dr. Karamazov, I got to go back and I got to save the tiny sign.
Like he's very reluctant about it. He doesn't want to do it. He's like, yeah.
It's like it's the classic. I don't want to, but I have to.
Yes. High quality in any hero. All right. Oh, by the way, just with Doctor, we're almost to the end. I guess the last thing would be Dr. Karamazov. What do you guys think of the reveal with Karamazov?
Karamazov is he's a little wonky. I think he's not necessarily a weak point of the season, but I do think we use him as an exposition machine a little too much. But having said that, I do like all the different visual forms we get of Karamazov. It's a very fun runner, and the reveal is no different. It's definitely the first time I watched through it, it was definitely okay, we're going that direction.
I'll tell you what's so great about the reveal. The reveal feels so Edlin. Not in that he shrunk himself, but in that he shrunk himself to like knee high, to the point of like it's not Ant-Man small. It's just he shrunk himself to like being like at an inconvenient height. That's Ben Edlin comedy right there. It's just he's the knee high man. Oh yeah, the Tick. We pulled from one of our favorite Tick episodes with the Breadmaster. Where he launches himself in the giant. He launches himself in the shower turned cannon, like the thing they pulled from the animated show, and they kind of do that to get him to the crypt in question. And I love that little apology moment where the Tick being such a nice dim hero. It's just sorry, Rebecca S. Balmer.
It's like wife, and Mo.
I think the last big moment to address with this episode is the Tick saving Overkill, which is a big plot point that we're gonna really explore thematically over the next 5 episodes.
Absolutely. So speaking of which, let's get to it. So After Midnight, episode 8.
Episode 8, yeah. Okay, so basically I have kind of an analogy for the way that this season tracks. I think episodes 7, 8, and 9 each get progressively better.
Yeah.
Then episodes 10 and 11, you kind of have a little bit of a drop-off where it's not bad per se, it's just a little bit of like, all right, we're kind of, it's kind of like, it's not bad, it's just kind of twiddling our thumbs until we get to the finale. But then the finale, it spikes up and it becomes even better than episode 9.
There you go.
So if you could look at it like a stock market, like we get a steady rise and then a little bit of a drop off, but then a big rise at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of that, I do think episode 8 is a steady rise. Midnight, I love this character. It's a really fun introduction to him. Of course, we've been seeing a lot about him. We've been seeing him on like news interviews and stuff like that, but to get him in the flesh like this, and with the Tick becoming like an instant fan of him, very fun stuff. Also, Walter, does anyone else like Walter as much as I do? Because I don't know, I really like this guy.
I like Walter. I think I loved him more in the first half, but I mean, I really like where we're going to go with him based on the last episode. So, but this episode's like Walter was okay. I just think I'm on board for Walter in the future.
I really liked how Walter was used as kind of like the bridge between Arthur's personal life and his superhero life, and I really like how the Tick so casually reveals what Arthur's been up to him, and it's a very natural reaction.
You gotta remember, here we do kind of set up the whole Flag 5 memorial thing, especially through Walter, which definitely pays off by the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We should address you don't have to address like every Tick opening, but this one has the VLM opening, which does service the plot in a big way. And also, we have 2 Daredevil actors are in this season. Ryan Woodall. He plays the very large man, or Cliff Richter. And later on, we're going to have Jeffrey Cantor, who plays Ellison from Daredevil.
Ah, yes.
There's a little fun fact. But you know, with the very large man, this is a nitpick, and it's like there's no way around. I was never thrilled with the nudity. The very large man.
I hear you. I hear you. I mean,
That's the thing. I love that we do a giant thing on the. We do giants on the Tick, which he always like Dinosaur Neil being the most famous example, fighting like a giant Godzilla type kind of hero. But in this case, it's like when you face the realities, and this show is kind of making fun of the Netflixian realities of we're going to do things realistically and kind of do the fantastic and the mundane. We're going to realize, he would. There aren't giant pants.
Well, to me, it almost kind of felt like a way to just sort of like, hey, we need to earn that TVMA.
Mm-hmm. That's
honestly, I like looking back on it. I really don't think this show needed to or should be a TVMA because I just think this show has such good messages behind it. It's got such a good moral center to it that I honestly think it's a shame that the TVMA prevents kids from watching it.
Yeah,
TV-14. It should be TV-14 at best.
I agree.
You're right. I agree with your point, Tig. It should be. It should be kind of somewhere in the definitely in the PG-13 range at least, or TV-14. Yes, whatever the correlation is, but regardless. You got to bear in mind though, the Tick. We've had various versions of the Tick, and all of them been a little different. The cartoon, which everyone basically that's the longest run of the Tick, and that even supplanted the comics for all intents and purposes. That one. That's the kind of the kid friendly. That's the way anyone can watch Tick. But the comic,
like the original comic, Tick was basically an escaped lunatic.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So the comic was
the Mask movie versus the Mask comic.
A little, yes. It wasn't as gruesome as the Mask comic, but they got away with it. I think they kind of made a trade-off. I think they wanted to be able to kind of go in like a little more mature stuff, but at the same time, I don't think they wanted to go that far with it, so they just kind of stuck with the MA, and they might as well I guess they're figuring they might as well just kind of get their money's worth on it. Yeah, I think they just wanted to be able to kind of make adult jokes and not have to kind of play down to anybody. But it's kind of like when you have a streaming show, they're almost all of them. When you really think about it, rarely do we get a PG kind of streaming show. Rarely. Again, I'm saying with the animated stuff, usually we get
unfortunate events.
That's okay. That's fair. Yeah, you're right. That is based on a kid's book, though. So
yeah.
I'm saying unless things are based on a kid's property, like a younger, a more PG property, you really don't get that anymore in streaming. But anyway, to each his own. So, so we get a great clue with Superior because he's kind of screwing up that interview about Cliff Richter in the beginning. I like that on the rewatch. You notice that Superior either he's really stupid or he's affected by the big bismuth, and we don't know that yet on the first watch. I like
how, especially like in the first half of season 1, it seems like Superior is just kind of a doofus.
Yeah,
you're right, Dragon. Really good payoff there.
Okay, let's see. So again, Tick and Arthur are they're reunited. It's definitely overkill. It's a very overkill centric episode with the midnight of it all.
This glove is all that kept me going.
It's been the talisman that has kept me going.
Oh yeah. He's like, thanks.
We start to get the danger boat stuff with Arthur.
We definitely. Next episode we go forward big time. We set it up here because he's Danger Boat had the conversation either in this episode or the last episode.
I think the last episode was kind of like the setup conversation between him and the Tick, like before the Tick gets launched up.
It's about how does a boat identify?
Yeah.
He identifies as a gay boat male.
Like a mailbox?
Oh god.
But all the midnight stuff is great. I'm surprised it went as far as we did within the best of ways with the kind of the escalation of the of Overkill fighting the dog. By the way, the dog voiced by Townsend Coleman. We already went through that in the first one.
Yes.
Wonderful little passing of the torch there. Good old.
I love how the dog. He's got an air of respectability to him, but at the same time, you can totally see Overkill's point about him selling out.
He does feel like a pompous writer.
Yeah, it's a very nuanced vocal performance.
I mean, and quite frankly, it seems like one of those people that write self-help novels because they're being pretentious about it.
Exactly.
It's like, in reality, the bone was buried in his backyard all along.
You got to remember, he did write a book on organized religion. It's a dog. It's like the dog's kind of journey put into.
But the question is, how does a dog write a book anyway?
I assume he has his little helper, his handler write it.
Yeah, it's not really that important anyway.
But yeah, we also get
I,
a fan theory was confirmed in this season. The whole straight shooter reveal that, and again, this is a really clever reveal, and I feel a little kind of kick. I did kick myself after watching the first half, and never before I heard this fan theory, not putting it together on my own. That, yeah, Overkill would be the guy who survived from the Flag Five, who got his hands crushed and his eyes, and his eyes. Syphilis. Yeah, I don't know what the plural of syphilis is, but had the weaponized syphilis used on his eyes. So, so I mean, yeah, I thought it's a cool reveal and a cool way to tie in and explain Overkill a little bit. The cool looking eyes and the mechanical hands. That's neat.
I have a question though. Like, what exactly are Midnight's powers again?
I think he's just. He is like the dog mascot, but he wouldn't admit it. He's basically his power is that he can talk as a dog. I think that's what his power is. I really do. He's a very literate. Yeah. He's a very literate, intellectual dog who can speak, and he like just work out. He's like, no, I'm not the mascot. You were the mascot. You're like a Make-A-Wish kid who wouldn't die. I love how cruel that line is.
The only other thing we have in this episode is Dot kind of honing, like going to the gun range, kind of realizing that she's maybe a little in over her head, but wants to make a step towards self-improvement in that regard.
Well, aside from this hilarious image of the Tick kind of breaking up the fight between Overkill and Midnight, we also do have the scene that follows this where it's the big kind of the life debt thing. The life debt idea is brilliant with the Tick.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm glad you bring that up. I get that mixed up with episode 7, but the Blockbuster Buster, I think, said it best. If you guys have seen his honest thoughts on the Tick season 1, part 2, is I feel like this is the most Tick moment that's ever been ticked in the history of Tick.
Well, it's kind of a triple use of Tick there, but yeah, I agree with
you. Because and this is exactly why I think this show should be a TV-14. Because this is such a damn good message.
In a weird way, if you really think about it, the Tick is kind of a combination of what we have now with Luke Cage and Iron Fist. It's kind of like the dim, young, wide-eyed kid mixed with like the role model, the impervious role model that is Luke Cage. He's kind of like the best kind of combination of those two characters.
God. Oh man!
But seriously though, yes, I mean it's such a brilliant way. It's such a brilliant kind of simple, silly way, but it's endearing though. I mean, I love always we have these little. There's this moment. There's a moment at the very. There are 3 moments with the Tick in this half that really grab me. This is the first one. We're gonna have one in episode 9 and one in episode 12. These are moments that are like Tick and these really kind of these heartfelt, endearing moments that speak to the character, speak to heroism, speak to that innocence, and just shows that there is a better way. Where he just says to Overkill, like, "Hey, try not killing people. You might like it." And because he owes a man who can't get hurt, and most likely he'd never be able to pay that life debt off. He can make that promise. I love it's like such a brilliant loophole to get Overkill not to kill anyone, and because this world's a little absurd, we can get away with that, and I love it. It's brilliant. That was
how you do a life debt, Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the coolest ideas I think we got in this half. If I'm being frank, I really do.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely agree with you, Dragon. Really, really.
Oh yeah.
So last fun Tick line. Who is this God guy?
Okay. All right, moving on to episode 9. My Dinner with Android.
From dogs punching men to giant Tick guys punching other robotic Tick guys.
I'll be honest with you, this might be my favorite of the season.
Yeah, it's funny. Before I rewatched episode 12, this was my favorite, but I think it's between this
and 12, Dragon. It's definitely between this and 12.
This episode is fantastic. And I feel this one. I think this episode is the most Edlin out of all the episodes, including the first half. I think this one is the most Ben Edlin-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly the greatest combination of all Tick permutations because in the first episode of the Patrick Warburton one, he fought a robot, like a killer robot that was very much looking like what we have here, like a guy in a suit type robot.
I also feel like out of all the episodes, this is the one that stands on its own the most, where it's not necessarily pivotal to the plot. It's more of an exploration on the Tick's identity. But, I mean, when I think back on season 1, part 2, this is the episode that I kind of, in my mind, sort of go to because it's just a great kind of like, what is it to be human? What is it to have a call to destiny? Is a call to destiny just programming? We get some heady concepts in this episode in a silly premise.
Oh yeah, we get so many. There's so many great lines and great gags. But like, first and foremost, let me ask you. Let's talk some shipping, guys. Let's talk Arthur and Danger Boat. Do you think it's ever going to happen?
No. Danger Boat came on too strong, man. I mean, and I know a thing or two about coming on too strong. I mean, I wasn't that aggressive with this, but
I mean, you had a boat too.
You gotta take things slow. You gotta ease in. I'm not saying Arthur would have been 100% opposed to the idea, but I'm just saying it's over now. You had your chance, Danger Boat.
Danger Boat jumped into the shower too soon.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I can't remember. I think Arthur dropped. I can't remember if Arthur dropped the soap or not, but I think that was...
He did. He actually did drop soap.
You know what would be fun? Loofah.
Alan Tudyk. We gave Alan Tudyk some great material in this one. Where he's just
Alan Tudyk is like he's Disney's good. He's one of Disney's good luck charms now. But I think this role gives him like a good chance to. It's one of the benefits, I guess, of having it be TVMA because we can do some edgier stuff with Alan Tudyk here.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like honestly, out of like the whole man-boat relationship idea, that's something that's fun to do, and like it's something we could stretch beyond. Like it's absurdist humor without being like too graphic or anything. But it's still it's
it's not really offensive either. It's just like it has a nice charm to it.
Yeah, and again, like a part of you, because Danger Boat is quite pleasant. Alan Tudyk's doing a really good job there. It's like I don't want Arthur to. I just wish Arthur have like sit down. Well, you can't really sit down with him, but like kind of have a gentle, lone conversation with him about what Danger Boat. I mean, like I don't want to compromise what we have. Just like I don't think it's in the. I don't think it's in the cards for us, man. Like something like that. Like Danger Boat, I love you, buddy, but I don't love you in that way. So we gotta kind of be a co-worker.
Let's hope he does. Let's hope he doesn't go mad when Arthur refuses him.
We'll find you another sentient boat, Danger Boat, I'm sure. Anyway, so yes, again, I love how we continue what that book did, and the book fueled the Tick's existential search for identity. Exactly what Tiki was mentioning there, and I love that we have like all these, and we continue this at the very end, even with the dog thing. But I love that Tick. He thinks he might be a robot purely because the robot he went up against had antennas. Had antennas.
Same bluish hue.
Yeah.
It's like those two is like I'm an Armenian robot. You're not a robot, Tick.
It's such a harmless, like kind of charming idea that that Tick befriends a robot because he thinks he's a robot. It's like something you imagine like you wrote for like kids wrote this, but no, it affords that absurdity. And again, we get a heartfelt moment here. I love at the very end where the Tick he again like the second out of those three Tick moments it really kind of grabs me. He's like, oh my god, so the Tick when the Tick believes that his robot pal killed Dr. Karamazov, he punched the evil killer robot and he punched his head off. Like the Tick hates murder. I mean, again, I love we just see that kind of that good heroic quality shine like superbly in that moment where any like My Dinner with Andre parody-esque dichotomy we just had, friend, you revoked it. Bam.
Off with your head.
It's off with your head. Also, we should talk about Brown Tingle Cola a little.
And for someone who hates murder, he just murdered a robot. Technically.
That's true.
I do think there's a little bit of weight to that moment, though, Jacob. I do think he's like, it's the Tick kind of losing his cool. It's kind of showing the Tick in a vulnerable state.
Yeah, I get that, but it just kind of pointed out the irony behind that.
Yeah.
I love like what we're doing with heads a lot in this. There's like there's like a theme of heads because Karamazov has like a big head in this. We're in the giant robot head. We've decapitated a robot's head. There's a big like recurring head thing in all this.
All right.
Yeah, but Brown Tingle Cola. I mean, I love continuing what we're doing with the terror here. He's in the. He tells a man to get out of his chair. The idea he started like this big cola company, the big payoff, BTC, let's say. And his love, he walks on this desk. He says, yes, of all the gin joints and all the land. He's walking down there like he's owning the room. And I love that he just tells the guy to get out of his chair. What that's code for his men is slit the guy's throat. Oh, God. So I think that's honestly where we're getting most of our TVMA stuff from. In a way, it works. In a way that I get, and again, that's where I want them to pull. If they're going to pull anything from kind of the comics, where you can get away with like the terror is like over the top evil and like all the like he's like the Red Skull, but even sillier. You know, he's just like, hey, I'm just really old. I'm not a Nazi. I'm just a really mean old guy.
And speaking of over the top, this is the episode where we get kind of the big reveal of the Terror's ridiculous plan, and oh man, it's you kind of need a flowchart to follow it.
And and as I mentioned before we get on air, it's like in typical Tick fashion, the bad guy's overall plan is completely insane.
Oh yeah. Also, don't forget we get Spoon in this episode. I think that's why it might be a favorite as well. If you only take one thing away from it, we get the big Spoon moment. It's
Spoon.
Spoon.
I like how understated the moment is too.
I love that. Again, he hasn't quite made his battle cry, but he did say Spoon. He looked into. He mirrored the moment from the show, right? He looks into his reflection in the Spoon, and that's what gives him the idea for it. So we're building to the big battle cry of Spoon.
Oh yeah.
And let's see. Shakira. Oh yes, the whole all the dot and the overkill bonding with the gun Shakira.
It's like, you named your gun Shakira? No.
No.
And then I love the thing about like him having trust issues with women.
Yeah, and I like how we're building that. We can probably infer that it was asking about like did one say anything about me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just again, there's a really sweet scene of like kind of target practice, and it's kind of giving Dot more to do in the show, and kind of making her very proactive as a character, and also kind of showing that she and Overkill are kind of like they're a little sweet on each other. They won't admit it. We're definitely able to bring out the best in each other, but it's a work in progress.
Okay, anything else?
I think that's about. I love the robot's called Backup. Like it's backup, but it's like
BAKKU.
Yeah. Blast their flat secret.
I completed my mission. Get new robot. Very happy.
And again, I think Tick's funniest line was, aside from Spoon, was blast their flat secrets because they learned the Armenians are tracking the little business card. Blast their flat secrets. Okay,
next episode. Risky Bismuth.
Peter Serafinowicz just really sells any line of the Ticks, no matter how ridiculous it is.
Oh, most true, yes. 10 again.
This episode is it's not bad. It's just I feel like because it has the most exposition out of any episode, it's the weakest. Yeah,
like I would lump like what you said. I agree with what you said before, except I would put it all on 10 versus 11. But I mean, 11 has a little bit of, but 10 is where I think all of the exposition really is kind of in there. And if you really objectively, I think you could lose a lot of 10 and still get the rest of the season.
I agree. I feel like 10 is definitely the point where it's like it's a little bit of a draw off after we had this steady incline of quality through 7 through 9.
I mean, we did have that great ending to the previous one, so that's Superior. As he passes out in the room, and we kind of pick up where we left off there.
It's kind of a shame that we don't really do as much as we could with Superior.
I think we do.
Superion's wasted. I just feel like we could have had a lot more fun with him.
But it seems like they're hinting at more in the future, though.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
So yeah, it's and basically this is the episode gets all the preparation for the 2-part. Well, essentially, it's like a 2-part finale, and they do very much mirror each other in the episode titles. So 11 and 12 are kind of like a 2-parter in terms of family. And we look again when I say exposition is not necessarily a bad thing. Again, the most famous example I could lead you to is Doc Brown Back to the Future is the master of exposition, Christopher Lloyd. And we don't have it necessarily as great as that, but here though I do appreciate the Edlund logic of the writing that we do get for this exposition is fine. It's just kind of slows things to a crawl a little bit, and stuff we could probably just kind of have revealed versus kind of dedicating a lot of time to showing it here.
Sure.
We're basically just to establish it. The premise is very simple: is that he was going to use a growth ray to solve world hunger. Congratulations, thank you. Thanks. Just not realizing, no, we still have world hunger tech. And basically he discovered big bismuth and he used that as a new power source, which basically led to the shrink ray setback. And he discovered it weakened Superior, and the government wanted to use that, and then the Terror entered the Terror. And what I really appreciated, though, the one thing I really did like in the expositions, we reveal that, it links up with where we first saw the Tick in the first episode of the whole season, where, he was destroying the weapons cache and getting Arthur's suit. I like how we connect our events there. That's good.
Mm.
We pay off the ice, by the way, like all the ice that Arthur's go-to excuse is, I'm going to get more ice, and he is getting a lot of ice to cool down, like a molten Superior. Hello?
Okay. Yeah.
Whoa.
Jacob, if you can hear us, you just went like really kind of end of the world staticky on us for a second. Anyways,
I think Jacob lost an antenna.
I know, right?
Is that better?
Jacob, you might want to try coming out and going back in.
You know what's funny? I thought it was like laundry or like coins, like he was getting for laundry or something. That's kind of why I thought it was like change at first before it turned supernova. Well, fun
God.
Like, like pocket change, but anyway.
Hello.
Okay, we're good now.
Yeah, much better. Much better. All right.
All right. Okay, so technical difficulties aside, let's see. I don't think we have a lot left. I think we get the pig here, don't we?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
The classic Blofeld image.
I love that we addressed that. And again, I love adding these layers to the Terror.
I really like how the Terror is just like, these are all cliches, boring, ancient rituals. I'm coming out. It's the Terror 2.0. I should be fresh, new, hip.
That's the thing. I love that the Terror, he hates cliche, and he's an egomaniac. And I love what we imply with Superior and the Terror. And I like what we kind of say about this. I guess a little bit more as we get to the next two, but I love that. I think what they're saying, guys, is that in this universe, the guys at the top, your Terrors and your Superiors, like your top tier villains, like the higher you go up on the food chain versus like an Arthur or a Tick who's like at the very lowest level here, you get like egocentric. The more egocentric you get as you get up the ladder, like let's say Overkill's like in the middle somewhere, and like the more ego driven and kind of vaguely stupid you are as you go up. Where the Terror, he is very violent. Don't get me wrong, but he's at the same time he's all. Like his big plan, as we're going to learn, one of the facets of his big plan is it's all about he wants to make an entrance. He basically wants to gloat about villainy.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like he's like sweating the details over. He's like having a storyboard to him and everything. How should I come back? He wants to make a comeback and not be like a cliche comeback. He just wants to gloat. And Superior is like he just wants the endorsements and the praise of of doing the right thing, and he just doesn't really. He's kind of lost sight of the heroic goals. So. Yeah. Let's see. Link up. Oh yes, the Tick's chair of despair moment. He sits in the chair. It's kind of randomly in the alley while they're getting ice, and he's like, he's kind of
right,
kind of contemplating things. And you get a nice little pep talk from Arthur. Basically, Arthur had to clip Tick's wings here a little.
That is one of the things, like, even in a slower episode of this show, just the dynamic between Arthur and the Tick and the friendship that keeps building and building. It keeps the show going, man. You know what I mean? Even when not a lot's going on in the episode, you can still point to that stuff and be like, man, I'm glad I saw that character growth.
And I love that he kind of knew where to strike the Tick and the whole destiny of it all. I mean, I think we kind of said most of that we might have said most of that in the other side. I can't quite recall where we had like the big destiny point that really snapped Tick.
No, that's the thing is we're getting into these episodes. Like episode 12, I'm sure I'll be fine on, but we're kind of like running to a point where it's kind of the episodes are bleeding into each other for me personally.
Right, and again, Arthur, it was a really nice pep talk, and I love how he kind of got the Tick through the whole destiny of this. If there's one thing. There are two things Tick cares about most in this life, and it's destiny and it's Arthur. Arthur and destiny. Those are the two things he cares about most in this life. Mm. And I'm pointing out that you wouldn't be able to answer Destiny's call if you were a robot. And essentially, that's kind of snaps him out of the whole robot delusion. And I guess lastly, just to kind of say, because they definitely say in this episode, a ridiculously convoluted plan is established in this episode. So the plan is. inject the landscaper, Cliff Richter, with bismuth, big bismuth, big bismuth. They love saying big bismuth. Inject them with big bismuth, which essentially is kryptonite for Superior. That's the simple, in case anyone was a little lost on that. Into the man. Use the growth ray that Karamazov also invented, because they raided the lab. Grow them to huge size, so you take like little crystals of bismuth and make them into huge giant things. It's of course the guy's bloodstream. Big guy, a lot of big bismuth. Even like a large neighboring area, Superior's going to be weakened. He gets close to him, dead. And how do we ensure that? Guy in the wing. Again, folks, I know this plan may not sound like it's making sense. That's the point. Arthur flies up. The man, whoever wears the moth suit, flies up. As soon as he gets close enough, Terra clicks a button. Blows him up and disperses of the big bismuth. It rains like a big bismuth cloud from the guy's blown up head. Will rain down and kill Superior. Arthur's response says, many of the audience's responses to that very convoluted plan is, that's not mad science, that's stupid science. That's ridiculous. That's a bold move they took. It's like rare, basically they addressed like an Arrow plot, like a modern day Arrow plot line. They addressed like, hey, yeah, this is stupid, it doesn't make any sense.
But I love how by the end of the series, we just totally see that the Terror is like basically just a pathetic old man who's just trying to be hip and cool, and that's really all he has going.
He's basically trying to live out a power fantasy.
Yeah. Hey, I came back and I blew your heroes up.
Oh god!
With an incredibly convoluted scheme that was almost doomed to fail.
Okay, so episode 11.
Yeah.
Okay, episode 11, the beginning of the end.
All right, so Tick has some residual big bismuth dust removed, and that's why Superior was really not getting better while he was in the apartment with Tick and Arthur. They discover this, they kind of absorb, basically tinfoil Kevin has to kind of cavity search the Tick with like a little vacuum cleaner to get all the dust away.
I love how the Tick is so stoic about this. He's like, that's what you need to do, tinfoil Kevin.
Inseam.
Big bismuth me.
Get all
up in my bismuth.
Yeah, that's the one. Goat sees Superior, and I like how Goat and his grandmother are helping out.
I especially think that his grandmother has a nice moment with Arthur in this episode about like how I always tell my grandson that he should be more like you, and Arthur's just like, no, that's terrible advice.
Oh, that's hilarious.
All right, so now our hero's big plan to refute the ridiculous big plan. Basically, the big plan to save the day is for Arthur. For basically, Dr. Karamazov, he has reversed the catalyst. He's engineered and reversed the catalyst in Arthur's suit. So it will hopefully, it has a 20% chance of shrinking the VLM and saving Superior, and basically day is saved type stuff. 20% chance, 80% chance of death and failure. Extra side of failure. And so yeah, there's definitely, so this plan is not like, it's not the most confident or well thought out of plans for not the most for the most overly thought out of plans. Meanwhile, speaking of our villains, I believe in this episode, basically Overkill got captured at the end of episode 10. Now in 11 we have a really good...
So we get a lot of Overkill and Lint banter back and forth. We get the torture scene.
And we did build to this because these two were, they were an item, and they betrayed each other and such. And, now they've been reunited.
Mm-hmm. Really, I don't have a ton to say about this episode either, because it's not as slow as episode. Excuse me, it's not as slow as episode 10, but I think it is still a lot of basically episode 10 is a lot of exposition. Episode 11 is a lot of setup. It's a lot of getting the wheels into place.
I think that's fair. I think that's a very fair assessment in that I think we have two main events around this episode. Main event one is, Lint and Overkill, and mainly the main thing that stems from the Lint and Overkill thing, aside from getting there is kind of a sad, there's a sympathetic portrayal of Overkill where, it's sad that all of his loss, he lost his family essentially in the Flag 5, and he's kind of convinced himself he has to be the Punisher, essentially. He kind of went from Bucky to being the Punisher. And
or Bucky to being the Winter Soldier.
Well, I'm just saying with the skull gimmick, he literally is kind of turning into the Punisher. That's the whole.
I'm sorry. It's just like you used one anti-hero, like Bucky Barnes is his anti-hero.
Well, I was thinking like the old sidekick Bucky Barnes.
It's basically Sharpshooter was more supposed to be like the Bucky, like the sidekick.
Bucky Barnes, he died, and he's never ever coming back.
All right, fine. With the analogy shocked, let me just spell it out.
And then, but I do agree with the whole Punisher thing. It's like basically overkill. I mean, he's basically supposed to be like a parody of Punisher, not the Winter Soldier.
Sure, I hear you.
The point is, like, this. It's sad that all this loss is kind of basically is channeled through adrenaline. Like, yeah, I got to be the Punisher. I got to be all tortured and stuff. That's like the only way he kind of. It's the only way he can kind of process that loss and kind of can get on with himself. Is just being, basically.
Ironically,
kind of
this came out around the same time. Ironically, this came out around the same time as Netflix's Punisher.
True. Well, it started around 2017. So
much better show.
All right.
I'm sorry. I am one of the few people who is not a fan of Netflix Punisher.
It has an excellent ending, though.
It's got an excellent ending, but my God, is it a slow build?
Anyway, also the main thing to also take out from like the Lint and Overkill thing, it's nice to see Miss Lint develop and kind of see some shades there. She definitely still likes Overkill, and I like that he kind of likes her too, but realized she really shattered his trust and kind of took his family away because he showed weakness in a relationship.
It's basically be a destructive relationship.
Certainly, and I like kind of like through Dottie, like kind of crawling around the vents. I love that we have this bit where she's kind of saying like they're kind of like torture was kind of like a thing for him, and she's like, oh man, that's wrong. Anyway, so what I really love in this episode, I love how Dottie saves the day. I love how she saves Overkill, using the sprinklers. It's a clever solution. She has her gun out, so it's really nice that Dottie, she kind of saved the day. On the flip side, the Everest kids are really in vogue.
She's like one of the best powers of all. She's like one of the best powers of all, intelligence.
Yes. So that's the thing. I love that both Everest kids, they really shined in this episode. One with Dottie and the other one with Arthur in that great scene he had with Superior. That scene he has with Superior is really nice where we definitely see kind of the ego of the superculture in effect, where Superior he kind of pulled like a Metro Man from Megamind here, where he kind of like the terror, like his teeth were found at the scene, so he let sleeping dogs lie, where it's like, okay, well, he's dead. I don't have to worry about him anymore. I just kind of wanted to not fight him anymore. In effect, he kind of ruined Arthur's life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a nice little scene, again, kind of Superior and kind of passing the torch somewhat, saying like, hey, one thing you should know, the terrorist plots never make any sense.
He's not wrong.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Oh no! And this is where the whole therapy line from Dottie comes in with the whole therapy. Like, you need serious therapy.
Not just couples therapy, serious one-on-one therapy.
Like, maybe Punisher would be better with some therapy. In all honesty.
Okay. Now getting into it, episode 12. The end of the beginning of the start of the dawn of the age of superheroes. Such a good title.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh boy, where to start? I'm amazed. It's kind of surprising, and I think it's a good surprise that we solved the VLM problem really quick. It's like in the opening almost, how we take care of the VLM like really quick, and it's like the giant. I think it's them saying like, "Hey, we built up this VLM thing. We're just going to solve it real fast."
Which, I mean, it makes sense because I feel like the VLM, by all intents and purposes, he's a plot device more than anything else. You know what I mean?
It was a smart call.
Yeah. Like, I don't really think we built in a lot of personal investment into him. Like, yeah, he's got a family, and it's nice to see him return to the family and everything. But
basically the whole 20% chance of success is basically like, okay, if we already know there's going to be a second season and stuff, we know he's going to succeed.
Right. At the end of the day, this is all about Arthur and the Tick versus the Terror. So that's what this episode should be focused on.
And what I love, again, this with the VLM, the real, no pun intended, the important payoff is, it's the Tick and Arthur versus like a giant a giant person like they usually do, and you kind of it's starting us down that path of fighting giant things with the Tick and Arthur.
Right,
It's fun.
Also, I love how Arthur and the Tick have to take a cab to the scene.
Which is from the books, from the lore.
Yeah,
where in this case we updated with Uber, and I like how we set that up with Overkill earlier on. Like Antonio and says, "Arthur, what's an Uber?" Oh, don't worry about it.
And if you notice that Antonio gets around because he was also Overkill's Uber driver a few episodes back.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
that Antonio becomes this series dupender.
Well, let's not go that far.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's see. Oh yes, we have this is like a dark gag, but I thought it was kind of funny. The dead Overkill gag. What did you guys think of that? the fact that Overkill is somehow alive yet he is dead at the same time.
God.
It's so ridiculous. And this is like a Punisher logic thing here, and I love that. That's the idea that he's like military grade Adderall, and he has like a train his body to like kind of pump out adrenaline, even though his heart is stopped. And it's like in the fact that we have again kind of our clear
ridiculous enough to work with the fabric of this show, and it makes sense with the character.
It is, and again, another reason I love kind of Overkill and Dottie paired together is we have kind of our Punisher parody with our Claire Temple parody, and they're kind of helping each other then the ways they would.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. So, thanks to Overkill's torture that he endured, which he did endure with purpose as well, he did find out where the terrorists being held up at. The big tingle, brown tingle cola. Sorry. And it's his favorite cola.
I've been eating it for like a month.
See, I love how. I'll tell you why I'm not harsh on that joke. Is because it's so petty. That's what I love about it. It's like such a petty. It's such a petty way. It's like he said, like a dropper, like an eyedropper full of it. Every cola. I just love that's the secret ingredient.
And he almost said it like he was joking, almost. I mean, he was most likely serious about it, but he just said it's like, go on, boss. He's like, I know, right? He seems so proud of himself.
So the terror's motivation here is great. And again, kind of in a jazzy way, he is kind of improvising his plan here. I love how you can see Lent lose all respect and kind of turn on the terror here. And we absolutely get why, because the terror's big plan essentially, again, was to gloat. He was like, yeah, the camera and everything set up. I didn't get to push the button. What's going on? And he realizes the whole kit and caboodle. It's like, well, the veil envelope and the whole plan turned sideways, and now I'm mad. I'm going to kill the Everest family. That's about all I got right now.
Yep. And she bails on him.
Okay, so let's talk. So with the whole brown tingle cola, I think the greatest payoff, and I love this because I think it was on the poster. And I don't know about you guys. You guys probably put it together, but I mean, I think it gets so wrapped up in it that you don't realize unless you've seen the trailer or you've seen the poster. It's like to the very part of it, you don't see like the giant T ship coming.
Yeah.
I love the giant T ship for a few reasons. One, again, T for it shows the Tick. Like all these kind of RT based hero, RT based film, really get giant
Titans also.
Sure. And with the giant T, I love that. I love how we go full circle in the climax of this whole season. Go full circle with Arthur's origin. With the death of his father was a giant, like a hero's spaceship, crashing down on his father and killing him and kind of traumatizing him. And here, what we're doing is he's in the thick of it. He's a superhero himself now, and the big super villain, a big ship, is going to crashing down and kind of making him relive his experience. But this case, he's stronger for facing his fears. Man. So that's cool, and also I love the big T ship with like the little T escape pod, the lowercase T escape pod.
It looks like the Tumblr logo.
And again, Tick fighting giant, giant things. Again, I also love seeing him hop onto the giant T. I think it's the best CG effect they had in the whole season, honestly, of him jumping onto that T.
What was it he said when he when they were crashing down?
He said, I forget what this was, but it's like, this something is brought to you by the letter T.
Oh yeah, it's something along those lines.
Like, this save is brought to you by the letter T. Like this foiling or something. I don't know. It was really great.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. So again, I love Arthur with the big T ship as well. I love Arthur saving a father, and we get the wonderful, like, quiet payoff. And it's such a wonderful little payoff. Where Arthur saved, he's pushed the guy out of the way. Again, it's showing that it's kind of like the Daredevil thing.
Arthur's evolution in this series has been from from sidekick to full-blown hero in his own right. You know, right? I mean, like, now him and the Tick, they're not necessarily hero and sidekick. They're just two heroes who are best buddies, and they're going to go out as a crime-fighting team.
Kind of like the Captain Falcon, only more ridiculous. No, seriously, think about it. You got the big blue guy, kind of super soldier-esque, and you have the guy with wings, kind of like.
But you're right. You're right. Cap does definitely treat the Falcon as his equal. The Falcon has never been looked at as Cap's sidekick, really, and I definitely think that's the same way with Arthur and Tick.
Sure. And let's see. So I mean, yeah, man, I love him, like, doing kind of this.
Walter, we can't pass that up.
Oh, sure. But I mean, real quick with the father thing before we get to
Yeah.
Walter setup, I guess. With Arthur, I love that he saves the father. It's kind of like the old Daredevil thing, like, all Matt Murdock's life is based on, like, a simple act of kindness, where he saved an old man from walking out in the traffic, essentially, kind of like pushed the guy out of the way or stopped him from kind of walking into the street. And and here it's like kind of push the guy out of the way, which, yeah, it's heroic. It's very it's minimal, but it's just the right amount of heroism for a guy like Arthur. And in the end, you get to see the fruits of that, where he's kind of reunited a family, like the loss that he endured. He did kind of like he pulled a Batman, where he prevented someone from enduring exactly what he went through, losing your father in this world, in this crazy world of superheroes, to, like, ridiculous stuff that shouldn't affect the people on the ground level.
Uh-huh.
And the big confrontation is awesome. This is my favorite Tick moment in the as much as I love the whole no killing thing. He tells when he tells Overkill, like, hey, I'll strike a deal with you. Don't try not murdering everybody. I love this moment. I keep rewatching this moment where, as Arthur confronts the Terror, and he has a wonderful speech that he delivers to the Terror, about, like, you got nothing. He goes full circle with, you got nothing. Just a scared old man, doesn't know what he's doing. He's an evil guy, but he has no plan. He's locked into all this. He's just being all jazzed. Like, Arthur was an accident. He didn't intend. There was no master plan at all. And the Terror points the gun in Arthur's face, and we kind of use the other half of the Spoon scene, where there come up battle cries, and the Tick says, Spoon, and Arthur's idea is not in the face, not in the face, as Arthur with the gun in his face says, not in the face, not in the face. I mean, that's great, and as that happens, and I love that we're still getting comedy in this scene. It's a big triumphant scene for Arthur, undercut with some comedy. Okay, gun in the face. Arthur, he's found your weakness. Hold in your face. It's the one part of you that is not bulletproof, which is brilliant that we addressed that in the show. I love the moment where the Tick, who is so invested in his friend Arthur, and when the Tick gets serious, it's such a rarity. When you see the Tick get serious, I mean, as much as we're having some comedy here and there, so that big moment where he says, Terror, if you pull that trigger, I will hurt you, and he crunches his knuckles from a distance. Oh my God, it gives me chills. Like, yes, that's so heroic, and that speaks to the Tick and Arthur's friendship. Probably my favorite moment on a rewatch. I think it's my favorite moment in the whole season. In the whole season, honestly, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I can't deny you that.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right.
So the way we get out of that is basically a lot of our season 2 setup with Walter, for example, as chaos is kind of raining down around everybody. He's taking out a lot of guys. Walter is quite skilled.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing maybe even a Mr. Miyagi kind of dynamic with Walter and Arthur next season. I think. Like, yeah. I love the idea of a supportive stepfather. I don't know. That's always just been something in fiction. Whenever we can get like a supportive step parent, and they pull it off well. I always approve of it. I really think with the Arthur and Walter thing, this whole season, like, he's always been kind of downplaying Walter. Like, Walter's just the guy who wants to talk about his feet all the time. But I think he's come around on Walter, and by the end, he's realized that, you know what. Now that I've avenged my father, I accept that Walter is kind of that. He can be a fatherly figure. I think he's come around to accepting Walter a lot more than he did in the beginning. And I think what we're going to do in turn is that Walter is going to
in a way, in the way that the Terror was kind of living vicariously through Arthur's kind of reliving his youth and like going up against the hero, I think Walter is going to live vicariously through Arthur in, like teaching a hero. He's going to be, he's going to be teaching Arthur how to fight and stuff. He's going to teach him to be a better hero and kind of live out any heroic dreams through Arthur. That'd be kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, Superior. Importantly, he gets all the glory. He freezes the Terror at the last second, and he didn't even know he had freeze breath. I knew he had heat vision that could turn things into pumpkin spice. I knew he had that power. I didn't know he could freeze.
Kind of like Bizarro.
Yes. Well, I mean, also, Superman does have freeze breath too.
Wait, Bizarro has flame breath.
Yeah. Bizarro has flame breath. Superman has the freeze breath, and I forget. Oh, I guess Bizarro has ice vision. Does he have? I'm sorry, it's not important. We're getting off track. Sorry. But he's Superior, and he gets all the glory as he freezes the Terror. Before the Terror revealed he had like a warning. The Terror warned that I wasn't trying to take over the world. I was trying to take it back. And bum, whoosh, frozen.
And then they get the congratulations from the dog after reciting the statue.
And he warns him very, very similar to the other guy, the extended ending of the other guys. It's like, your big hero kind of warns of another danger coming, where he warns him.
Big brother's watching.
And it's Aegis.
Yep, and the Tick and Arthur's kind of walk by. Oh, well, we'll see where it goes, chum.
Season 2, buddy. We can't be worried about that at the end of Season 1. We've got to live in the present.
Yeah, we have 10 episodes to prep for, little chum.
So what do you guys think Aegis is?
Okay, might as well. Let's get into some speculation. So Aegis, I guess my big theory with the Aegis of it all is because we know
like a shield/Hydra.
I think it's going to be maybe a little bit more. I don't think it's going to be like a whole secret. They could go the secret agenda route with that, like the whole Shield Hydra thing. But I think where they're going to go is that I think Superior. Because it seems like he was the original hero. Because we went back in the very beginning of the season, like the first thing we saw was Superior and the whole Big Bismuth thing, way back when he arrived, like hundreds of years ago. And I think that suggests that Superior was the first hero, then Aegis was erected, and when Aegis came around, the superhero organization, I think it was always, my guess, it was always still aimed at superheroes, but the problem was Aegis basically they kept the incompetent heroes on the top, like your Superiors, and they kept them on top so they could kind of perpetuate your role model heroes, and basically guys you can show cue cards and they do what you say. And basically Aegis be pulling the strings of all the superheroes. And the Terror was probably trying to upset that and kind of do away with Aegis. And I think that's what the Terror was. Again, he's trying to take back the world from this government agency that's kind of actually pulling the world's strings.
Gotcha.
That's my guess. I think that's why Aegis has been established as a useless bureaucracy of superheroes. And I think they are going to be heroic, but just be the most useless kind of organization. There's not one I have.
But the ominous Big Brother drone thing at the end of Season 1 was kind of like a misdirect.
Yeah, I think they don't want the Tick and Arthur making waves. I think Aegis is going to be secretly lazy. I think that's going to be the big reveal. That Aegis doesn't want to make headlines with superhero stuff since the Flag 5 got killed off, and that's why the Terror has just been they kept the Terror coming back to life a secret. That's what they didn't want to look into it. They just wanted to sweep it under the rug and just say, hey, let's sell the Superior T-shirts, that sort of thing.
Do you think we'll see more of the Terror?
Of course, yeah, he's still alive. Well, they'll bring him back. He'll be in prison or something. Arthur's, Arthur being given the fact he investigated and he exposed the Terror. I'll bet you he's going to go to prison and visit the Terror and interrogate him.
But I mean, honestly, doesn't surprise me. With Season 2, are we going to get Chairface?
Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Chairface could be one of two things. My humble opinion. I think Chairface could be the big reveal. Chairface is the leader of Aegis.
Ooh, I like that.
One could say he's the chairman of Aegis. And they could tease it, the chairman, then we reveal Chairface.
That'd be awesome.
It's either that or we're just gonna. If we don't do Chairface next season, we're definitely doing him for Season 3. But I'm saying if we do Chairface, he'll be the head of Aegis. That's my theory.
Okay,
that'd be great. And Wait a minute, I was
You
gonna
could
say-
also maybe see Arthur, Tick, and Lint and Overkill all teaming up to take down Aegis.
Okay.
if we do see Chairface, I mean, I'd kind of like to see maybe they could finally come with an origin story for him.
I would love for Cranston to play Chairface.
Oh my God! Yes, yes, please, God, yes,
Either J.K. Simmons or Bryan Cranston.
yes.
I honestly, as much as I like Simmons, I would still vote Bryan Cranston over Simmons.
I will easily go with Cranston over Simmons, but I'm saying Simmons would be fun. But Cranston
backup choice. He's a decent second choice.
Cranston would be perfect because you got to get like a really fine actor to portray such a ridiculous.
But who can also be silly and who knows how to do comedy.
I mean, they got Tony J for crying out loud for the series.
That's what I'm saying, and unfortunately, Tony J is no longer with us, and that's the thing. You got to have someone who can kind of have like the same weight as a Tony J.
Right.
I mean, honestly.
And Bryan Cranston would be great for that.
And Bryan Cranston already has worked with Amazon, so there's that.
That's true with Sneaky Pete. He's on that. He co-created that show.
Yeah, so
you got two brief
possibility.
I think I got two brief things left to speculate on. I think Midnight, the dog. I think we're going to reveal with Midnight. I think Midnight's going to be a factor. He's going to be a help in taking down Aegis. I don't think he's going to be all over the season, but I think he's going to be in the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Midnight. I think Midnight went commercial after Aegis put pressure on. Think about this. I'm thinking the death of the Flag 5 is what really kind of put Aegis into overdrive, and I'll bet you they're basically kind of using this as an opportunity. Okay, we could turn Midnight into basically a celebrity after this, and I think they're secretly pushing the book career and everything.
Could they have orchestrated the death of the Flag 5?
I don't know. I don't think that's good for business, killing off heroes. But they could. I'm not ruling it out though.
What if they orchestrated those events to kind of create this world order or something?
I'm not going to rule out the possibility. I'll give you that.
I mean, it's just a far-fetched theory, but I mean, Stranger Things. I mean, this is the Tick we're talking about.
You are right. You are right. And of course, we've had space we've had aliens on the Tick many a time, so you could always have more aliens.
All right.
Let's see. I think
maybe the Tick's an alien.
Well, speaking of which, that's my last in the speculation. Not about him being an alien, but I think season 2 will explore the Tick's backstory. I'm going to bet you that because that's kind of the only lingering fruit. And again, I want to make it clear that if we do that, it'll be the first thing in the Tick ever to really explain his origin. Which again, the whole nightlight thing. We might explain the correlation. At least explain the correlation between Tick and Arthur. Why is Tick retain his memory when he's around Arthur? What is the key? What is the correlation there? I think that's as much of the Tick's backstory as we're going to get. It's going to be super historic if we see the Tick, if somehow, some way, we remove the Tick's mask, because that has never been done.
Oh yeah, ever. Yeah, for sure.
I think because again, for all we know, it's it could be melded to his skin. Somehow.
I think that's one of our theories, is that the costume is actually his form.
That's the thing. We've always just am I always naked, or am I ever not naked?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Because in every other way we see is he's always if he wears clothes, he always wears them over his super costume.
At the very least, I want to see that. If we don't get any background stuff, I want to see that. I want to see him doing the maitre d' get up, doing something, going undercover, wearing like a Ninja Turtles over a trench coat or something, or I don't know, something.
Yep. Trying to be all conspicuous, blue face and all that.
Good. All right. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts, yeah. Just short and to the point. I definitely think this season is... I need to rewatch season 1. I really do, and I agree with you guys that season 1, or part 1, I should say, it's not quite as strong, but part 2, my God, it's such a ride, and it's infinitely rewatchable. It's attached to a very important, very critical time in my life where I first went to Disney World, so I'll always have that memory, that positive glow around it. I just think the writing is so on point. The acting is it's stacked between Sarah Finowitz and Jackie Earle Haley. Those two are just the all-stars of it, and everyone else does a fantastic job as well. I love the tone it strikes. I love the messages it teaches. I'm just a big fan of this show. I think Amazon just hit it out of the park with this thing.
I think overall, I think season 1 is very solid. It's very true to the Tick. It's like kind of did everything I was kind of hoping it was going to do. I'm so glad it's gone over well, and people are definitely giving it attention. It's, again, it's getting a second season. That's good. It is a fun commentary on kind of our Netflix heroes. I really liked it, and again, based on I have if I'm I think I've watched. I went back and basically after I watched the first half, like the first part of this season, I did watch a lot of animated Tick episodes, and I think I watched them all. I might have missed a couple in the third season, but so I mean, I'm more well versed in the Tick than I ever was before I saw this show. So I've seen the Warburton stuff, basically everything but a lot of the comics, I would say, and as better versed I am in the Tick. I don't think I'm head over heels. I wouldn't go as far as to say like it's the best streaming or the best Netflix series I've ever seen, because it doesn't replace the Daredevil season 1 in my heart in terms of that. It's really good.
It's got better pacing than Daredevil season 1.
Well, I would argue with you, but we don't have the time for that. But you know what I mean. That's what I'm saying. This is good, but again, it's like in comparing it to Daredevil season 1, it's like apples and oranges. It's like something completely different. It's like there's no real point in kind of comparing the two. But this was great in service of what a Tick show should be. And again, I think it would have served itself better if it had them air all at once. But again, the second half definitely is better than the first half. Not that the first half's bad. Just again, just kind of takes a while and kind of doing it's going back and forth. Like, does Arthur put on the suit? Does he not put on the suit? Is he imagining the Tick? Like a few elements like that, and we work through as fast as we can. It's a great fun. Well, I will say in comparison to Daredevil, I love that it's a different flavor than something like that. It's a different flavor than what we usually get in the streaming shows. Where it's a great fun light alternative to kind of heroes in our.
Myself to it so much.
That's what I'm saying. I like that it's a fun alternative to kind of the heroes in our world type story that we've told. In this case, we're doing okay, here are heroes in our world. If we if the world had like a tongue in cheek quality to it, what if we could basically hold a mirror up and kind of laugh at ourselves a little bit? And that's kind of what this show's all about. And it was a lot of fun. Probably the best we could have done in kind of bringing the Tick to screen yet again. So I was very satisfied. It did everything I wanted it to. So I was very, very satisfied with it. Again, Peter Seraphine was just brilliant Tick, Griffin Newman, great Arthur.
All right, Jacob.
Well, I mean, we pretty much can't say anything on top of what you guys did, so pretty much can say we can only go from here.
All right, and without further ado, guys, let's do one more battle cry in 3, 2, 1. Spooooooooooooooon!